252 days today since the dream and the download. So September 10th, 2025, that was the day that Charlie Kirk was martyred, in my opinion. And what really bothered me was the people that were called 911. They saw the shooter on the roof before he ever shot. And so that night I had a dream and then a download. The next day, the Lord gave me an idea. People are going to be able to mark and flag things that are going on around them.
Sure.
And it's going to send out alerts to people that are close by. You know, the lady that was stabbed to death was walking her dog. If they would have had this portion here, they would have typed in here, you know, there's a man in a red shirt and blue jeans in our neighborhood that shouldn't be here. He's acting strange. So I don't know the situation, but I'm assuming that the guy was probably calling out to her because she was walking her dog. So she walked towards him.
Sure.
And then he stabbed her. You know, if she would have had this app, she would have seen something and, you know, walked away from that direction rather than walking towards it.
Welcome to Vision and Voice. Today's guest is Lee Jones, CEO and founder of Realtime Alert. Today he's going to share a little bit more of the progress he's made with Realtime Alert. And he's got 2 other business ventures. Always exciting to have Lee on the show. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate the opportunity.
I'd love to have you. You know, I'm not even sure where to start. We were brainstorming before this, but I know you're talking to your CSO, correct?
Right,
CSO
right.
and co-founder.
Right.
What is his name? I'm so sorry.
Seth.
Seth. So you're talking to Seth and we're texting. So I think with Seth's wisdom and advice, we should clearly start with your biggest project, which is Realtime Alert.
I've surrounded myself with very wise counsel. So
Yes.
definitely grateful and thankful.
I love it. I love it. For those of you who don't know Lee Jones, look for him on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and he's a fearless promoter for his God-centered company, Realtime Alert. I loved your the song you wrote with AI, and you sang it and videoed it and put it on your Facebook. I thought that was phenomenal.
It's so, AI is just amazing. Everything about it, you know, because I've always had songs in my head, and but I've never had the ability to go to Nashville and hire a crew to come in and put music to it or whatever, you know. But with AI, you know, if you got a song in your head, you can put music to it. It's so. Yes. It's really awesome. I love AI.
Your entrepreneurial spirit is infectious, and your passion for Christ and God. And if you can really start over and kind of tell us your elevator presentation on how you founded Realtime Alert.
252 days today since the dream and the download. It's just crazy. It was so September 10th, 2025. That was the day that Charlie Kirk was martyred, in my opinion. You know, in front of a crowd of 3,000 and worldwide display. Yes. And that night, I was just like so many other people, had a hard time sleeping. I was watching the different videos, and what really bothered me was the people that were called 911. They saw the shooter on the roof before he ever shot. Same thing happened to Donald Trump's, you know, attempted assassination. You know, people saw the shooter on the roof, and so that night I had a dream and then a download. The next day, the Lord gave me an idea, and I just started writing it out, and I've had 3 other patents that have all flopped, but very good learning experiences.
Sure.
And so I took my ideas down to the patent attorney that I use in Palm Beach, and he looked at it and was like, wow, this thing has some potential. And then I called up my cousin, Seth Burgett, who's really my business mentor. He's done phenomenal through the years. He's got 3 successful exits and 1 IPO. And he actually, one of the products he designed and made, saved his own son's life, which is pretty cool. And Seth is an awesome Christian brother. And then, so I took the idea to him, and he was like, all my other ideas, Seth was like, yeah, that's pretty neat, Lee. You might be able to do a little something with that. When I took this idea to him, Seth was like, Lee, I want in. And then, I wanted to get him at the level of being co-founder. And so he put my butt on the treadmill. He said, Lee, he said, you know, listen, this company is going to kill you if you don't get yourself in shape, because I was overweight and just, you know, just not taking good care of myself. And so Seth told me, he said, Lee, if I'm going to be on your executive board, he said, I want to have you report to me every week, you know, your progress in exercise, drinking the water, and getting yourself back in shape. And so I've kept up to that promise, so he's
love
on my
it.
executive board. So it's what a blessing though. But he's been right there with me. And then the CTO is Brian Powers, and he's a local guy that's had a lot of experience building apps. He's got this app called a Quest Event, and he and his family were always involved in rodeos, across the nation. And the issue with rodeos, the problem that he solved was when you go to a rodeo, you had to stand in line, and then everything was done on a spreadsheet, and then you had to bring a check or cash, and he automated the system to where you can register, through an app, and then you can also, it keeps track of your record where you stand at in the rodeos through the season. And it's just pretty, they actually rate the animals now. Did you realize that?
I don't know much about that industry.
Yeah, if you got a bull that really is a strong bull, they'll rate the bull. So you rate the guys that are in the event, the cowboys and cow women, cowgirls.
Yeah.
But you also rate the critters that they're riding.
So the bull, they wrestle down the bull, right? Or no,
or the one that ride it,
or they ride.
Either you ride, you wrestle it down, the rope, or you ride it.
That's insane.
And but yeah, bulls are pretty crazy.
Yes, for sure.
Bull riders.
So 352 days ago, God gave you a download.
252.
I keep saying that. 252 days ago, September 10th, when the day Charlie Kirk got assassinated.
Yeah,
I agree
September
with
11th,
that.
the very next day was when I got the download, the dream. So September 11th, we're 252 days today from September 11th.
There's some meaning to that too.
Yeah, it's been crazy. It's so when we first started this thing out, I didn't know all my other businesses that I've had a consulting and caretaking business. All my 30 years of experience has been in the citrus industry. I did consulting and caretaking for about 30,000 acres of orange groves. I had 14 tractors and just going hard at it. And the greening disease, another China virus, wiped us out.
Wow.
And, we got the Asian citrus psyllid in the state, and it loved the subtropics, and it blew across the state. And there's a disease that it spreads. It's a phloem-dependent bacteria that it spreads, and there's no cure for it. It's killed the trees.
Wow. So
so our production in the state, I used to be on the Florida Citrus Commission. Production in the state has gone from like 250 million boxes, like about 20 years ago, down to about 5 or 6 million boxes now. So
wow,
it destroyed us,
So it's basically shut down at this point in the state.
Yeah, it's
Will they design a resistant strain of oranges, do you think? Are they trying to?
There's one company out there now called Solcia, and they've used CRISPR, and that's gene editing. And so it's not GMO, it's gene editing. And because our industry, we shunned GMO because citrus, we wanted it to be more natural, healthy. And but CRISPR is gene editing, so we allowed that in. And but they've got a tree now that has some potential. There's a company that hired me to do consulting for them. So I do that it's only like a half day every couple weeks. But I go there and just kind of oversee the project where they've got these trees planted. Solcia is the name of the company. And so it's a neat little project. So I get to stay involved in farming because farming is in my blood.
I can see that.
I love farming.
So one of my favorite things, you sent me a recording, and we'll get to that, of your morning walk, which, you're getting healthy and you've lost a substantial, 50 pounds, 60 pounds to get?
Yeah. I mean, at my peak, I was 330 pounds. And
you're a big guy.
I'm 6'4",
Yep.
And, but now I'm down to about 260. So
you feel great.
I feel much better. I feel as good as I felt 15 years ago now. So
I was talking, when you meet Ryan Blair, he said, when you're called, God qualifies the called. He doesn't call the qualified. So you've been called out for sure. And I love your ideas. But what Ryan was saying when you meet him in Cabo is that you have to be ready. And being physically fit is part of that. Yeah. It's honoring God by being healthy so you can get up early and go with those long days. What you were telling me that Seth said to you this morning, just about you know, the trials and tribulations you'll go through funding and raising capital and burning through that capital and then doing it again, it does take a toll on you, right?
Yeah. And making sure you got the runway and understanding all this stuff. Like I said, when I started this company, you know, everything I started in the past have been S Corps and LLCs, you know.
Yep.
I'd never started a company that was a C Corp where the people were going to be investing in. And so, you know, Seth, you know, helped me work through all those things, you know, the SEC regulations and getting an SEC attorney, a business attorney, a tax attorney, patent attorneys. When we got doggone attorneys falling out our ears right now.
Yeah, that's
you know?
all I hear is money. I just think money, and, you know, retainers, money, and you need them. You
our
know,
PPM, this one little document, 28 pages, and basically it's crazy. It says the same thing over and over again, 100 different ways. Yeah. You understand if you invest in this company, you could lose all of your investment. I mean, it's why they have to say it 100 times. I have no idea. But
you know, because every time they changed it, they were in court. That's 100 court hearings that probably did that. Well, so where are you at? Let's hear a little bit more about Realtime Alert. Is the app on Apple now?
Almost. I thought it was going to be in there already.
Okay.
Apple gets pretty crazy. Especially when there's some privacy issues, because we're actually, you know, we've got a safety intelligence platform, you know, that's the best way to explain it, you know, so people are going to be able to mark and flag things that are going on around them.
Sure.
And it's going to send out alerts to people that are close by or to your, whatever your targeted audience is. Sure.
Do you want showing the app real quick? I think for new listeners.
Yeah, let me turn it off of I think I put it on.
So inspired by 252 days ago, inspired by the death of Charlie Kirk, the assassination, I'd agree with that. And you felt that had this app been there and they would have alerted 911 because people did call 911. They saw the shooter. Is that my understanding? Mm-hmm. There was a chance we could have saved his life.
911 is very slow. It's there's parts of it that just don't make a lot of sense. For example, have you ever called 911? And
I mean, I'm sure I have. I haven't really thought. I mean, oh yeah, for car accidents. Yes, I've called 911.
So there's a national law across the entire nation. When you call 911, you have to give them your address. When you're in an emergency situation, a lot of times you can't even remember where am I at? I'm at an event. I have no idea.
Sure.
You know where we're at? You know, it takes a little bit of time just to figure out where you're at. Your address, especially in an emergency. Some people can't think clearly in an emergency at all. So that's one of the things that our app does. After you hit a report button, when you call 911, when you hit the 911 button, it's going to, the address, your location is going to pop on the screen. So it'll help you out.
Oh, so you call from the app and that gives you your GPS location.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can see,
I can see it. Yes.
So basically, you know, we've got 4 easy buttons across the bottom. And we're also going to have a drone button on there coming up pretty soon, which is going to be pretty cool. But these little I'm a farmer, so I like common sense. You know, if you see a fight, you're going to see some black and blue more than likely. Yep. So I made it a blue icon. If you got a weapon threat, you could see some blood. So I made it red, you know, yellow for suspicious person or package, because I call them yellow bellied folks, you know, and then orange for an accident or fire or whatever. So when you hit one of those buttons, we actually have the same coding that Uber uses for the mapping sequence. So it's very nice map. So you can confirm the alert here. And then you can type in a description. So this would have saved, you remember that on April 2nd, the woman that was stabbed right here in Stewart?
In South Stewart, yes.
This probably would have saved her life. I'm not kidding.
I don't disagree. That's where there was a gentleman, obviously not right, knocking on doors randomly in some random neighborhood, right? And then
in a gated community, going around knocking on doors, and people realized that he wasn't right in the head. Something wasn't right. So they did the right thing. They called 911. So the vertical transition was good, and they were at home, so they could give their address quickly. So all that stuff went properly.
Yes.
911 was called. The police were on their way, but there was no communication horizontally. That's what our product solves, the horizontal communication.
It could have alerted all the neighbors. It
would have alerted the neighbors. You know, the lady that was stabbed to death was walking her dog. and then this guy, if they would have had this portion here, they would have typed in here, there's a man in a red shirt and blue jeans in our neighborhood that shouldn't be here. He's acting strange. So I don't know the situation, but I'm assuming that the guy was probably calling out to her because she was walking her dog. So she walked towards him.
Sure.
And then he stabbed her. If she would have had this app, she would have seen something and, walked away from that direction rather than walking towards it. And then when you call 911, I'm not going to call 911 because it will actually call. But when you call 911, then your address pops on the screen, so you hit when you hit
now, when
the
you say address, you mean your
location,
your GPS location,
your GPS location.
So just like Uber, like when I get an Uber, it tells them where I'm at on the street. Okay,
yeah. And that's what 911 has to have. When you call them, they have to have your address by law. And so that speeds up the process of even, the 911. And this is just the free app. So the free app, if you and I both have the app and I hit the button, weapon threat or whatever, and with a description of what's going on, if you're within 300 foot, you get a text that says, oh, something's going on near me.
Yep.
I need to turn around and go the other way. And that's the free app. On the paid subscription, it's really cool because then we've got a targeted system of alerts.
Okay.
Because you can formulate on the map wherever you want to. You can drop a peg and expand that circle up to 1 mile. And if anybody hits an alert inside of the circle that you create, you get a text.
There's something going on.
Six different, exactly. You could make 6 different zones.
It's kind of like it's like Waze, right? The driving app. Is it Waze?
Waze.
Yes.
Yep.
I don't use Waze, but I can tell. I was driving here from West Palm to get to the studio today, and cars were slowing down for no reason. I'm like between like the Jupiter exit and Hope Sound, and I'm like, oh, this is not. I mean, I don't use Waze, but I clearly knew, and I did, and there was 2 police waiting. So they, it's kind of like, I don't know if that's good or bad, but we all slowed down. Yep. But it reminds me when I was a kid.
So Waze marks the good guys. We mark the bad guys.
I like that better. Yes. So when I was a kid, that reminds me of like I lived in a neighborhood where my grandmother was only 4 houses away. My uncle was like 5 and all these cousins in between. And so we couldn't get away with anything because they knew, right? And they'd call your mom back then. So it's that version. So it's really interesting. I think it's invaluable. And I think it is a direct download. I believe it is a direct download you got from the Holy Spirit, from God to do this.
Yeah, thankful. And that's, and the cool thing about, your safety zones. So there's another, we've got some competitive products out there like Citizens. There's some products out there that have very high churn rates. So people get tired of using their product because they're getting alerts all through the day.
Got it.
Like Citizen, I've downloaded, I'm getting a banner comes across. It was a bank robbery in New York.
Okay.
So our system, you only get alerted if something happens in the zone that you create.
I mean, I guess it's nice to hear, but that's a long way away.
Right.
From Stuart, Florida.
Right. New York, I hate it that there's bad guys robbing banks, but that actually increases your anxiety by knowing that you become more anxious.
Yes.
And it's there's no need for it, whereas if you're getting an alert from inside a zone that you create in your own neighborhood or where your kids are going to school, then that's something you need to know,
100%. And really that's all, if you focus on your person and your surrounding neighborhood, that's our world, right? That's something we have some control over, where you go, who you're around. I love that. Now, I know you're a big Gator fan, and I kind of now you're partnering for events. So like maybe college sporting events you'll be doing at. My understanding is if I was walking in to see a University of Florida game, football game, there'd be like an app. I could scan it, and you'd want the university to sponsor it. Can you explain how that would work?
Yeah, so that's going to be released this coming winter.
Okay.
We're going to have for events. Where you can have.
Oh, let me just say one thing too. Mm-hmm. So I'm a big Florida State fan. Sorry about that, but I do root for the Gators too. 2 of my children went to UF, but when we go to the Miami game,
we gotta watch some football games together. This
yes,
year.
For sure. When I go to the Miami game, I take them every other year. Florida State plays Miami. I leave in third quarter because it's, especially when they were younger, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I remember running out of there. We were Florida State was winning by, I don't know, touchdown, 2 touchdowns. And it was still close, but I left because of the safety of my kids. Right. Because, at the end of those games, there's fights, people are, it gets pretty crazy. It's safe, but they were younger then. But your app would have helped a lot. Because as we're leaving, we ended up having to go a different way because there was something going on, not good. A bunch of college kids being college kids, I guess. And it was interesting. So if you can explain how the app would work at a sporting event.
Yeah, so in a sporting event, as the user, you're not going to know that you've got an event subscription that's turned on.
Okay.
It's the event administrator is the one that turns it on. So number one, they're going to get on our dashboard and they're going to draw we call it a hard fence around that event. Let's say the University of Florida football stadium.
So it's okay, Ben Hill or the swamp.
Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive to the normal geofence.
Okay.
Because they'll draw the fence around it. But what that does, that hard fence, we call it, that turns off all other, alert systems.
Oh,
so
okay.
you can't create a safety zone around a hard fenced area. You won't get a 300-foot push notification if something happens near you.
Okay.
Because we don't want to cause any sort of crowd panic. Like what happened at Astroworld, there was 20 people killed,
okay,
$750 million in settlements. We don't want to cause crowd panic because people can get hurt.
It happens, yes.
When you're panicking, So our system, any alerts that happen inside of a hard fence, when your phone recognizes that you're inside that hard fence, all the alerts go directly to whoever the administrator set up as their team. So it could be 911 is the set up as their team, or it could be Charlie Kirk's own security team or President Trump's own security team. So rather than a person having to call 911, where the heck am I? What's the address here? And then maybe the dispatcher sending them to the state police. No, it's not the state police over. It's the local police. No, it's their own team. So by the time you get all the way around there, you've got 8 to 10 minutes that passed. With our system, the person that needs to know that the administrator assigns for that event needs to know, and they know right away. So that's what our alert system does. And then there's some amazing drones out there these days. There's one company called Campus Guardian that's launched right here in Florida, and we're going to partner with some drone companies. We don't want to buy the drones to do that ourselves. We're not good at that. We're going to hire other companies that are good at that. They've got drones today that they could punch you in the chest and break every rib in your body.
Wow.
And they can throw tear gas. They'll fly through a window, then get up, hit the ground, get up and start flying again. Strobe lights, whatever. They've got some pretty crazy drones these days.
So there's one called Campus Drones. Was that
Campus Guardian?
Guardian?
They're actually out of Texas.
Okay.
And they've got some of the best drone flyers in the world that work for them. And so you got to have a manned system. They get 24-hour manned system.
And they would do like a sporting event, make sure.
Yeah, they could do
safe.
like a sporting event. So you could, send it. So if somebody hits an alert inside of our system, it goes to the administrator's security team. And then if the administrator says, I want to send a drone up, and if the event allows drones,
sure,
then it could send a drone up over that area and they can disengage the situation, which would be pretty awesome. And then the other thing we've got patent pendings on is safe evacuation, which insurance companies are going to absolutely love. So when our system, when the administrator says, you know what, the north end zone has got a weapon threat showing, we need to evacuate that now, they can hit one button and every phone that is geo-located in the north end zone is going to get pinged and it's going to light up, and they're going to get step-by-step evacuation route. AI is going to prioritize and look at the density of the phones in the north end zone, and it's going to say this part right here needs to exit out the west exit. This part right here needs to exit out the east exit. So you're going to get out as quickly and safely as possible. And so that's called safe evacuation. And our system is actually going to work without cell phone signal. If the event pays for the upgrade of real-time kinetics, triangulation, Bluetooth, and Wi-Fi, then our system can be accurate within 3 centimeters without cell phone service.
That's Wi-Fi then, I'm assuming?
I mean, it's pretty amazing.
That really is.
And you're going to get a blow up map as the user. Users are going to love this thing because when your phone crosses the line at that event, you're going to get a blow up map of the event. You're going to see where the bathrooms are. If the administrator loads in the seat where the seat is, and there where you do a QR code, you're going to be able to see where your seat is, where the bathrooms are, where the concessions are, all those things.
You have a great business plan, and you're executing this in stages. I can see. How big of a impact was AI on developing this?
100%. This entire company is due to, I say, God, the dream of the download, Claude, which is my primary AI, and then a little bit of Lee Jones and my executive team. But it's directly in that order, 100%. Claude, I've used all the different AIs, but Claude is by far the best. When I started doing the coding,
whose is Claude's? Is that Google's?
Claude is Anthropic.
Anthropic.
Yep.
Okay.
So when I started this thing, I wanted to be. I'm a farmer. I'm not a coder. I started coding this thing myself because I wanted to see what we could do. And so I started out coding with chat. That's a total train wreck. Don't ever use chat for coding. Chat's good for other things, good for artwork, good for some other things, recipes or whatever else. But definitely don't use chat for coding at this point. It could change down the road.
Got it.
But anyway, so I called up, Brian Powers, he's my CTO now in the company on my executive board. And Brian was like, Lee, what are you using chat for? He said, you need to be using Claude. So then I started going into watching different YouTube videos and channels and stuff. And then I was like, wow, I do need to use Claude. So self-taught on the coding, but AI is phenomenal. I've seen the power of AI explode. I mean, I've been using AI every day now for 252 days. And when I started and through today, I've seen it expand in power. I'd say 100x. Wow. In power. It's
I
crazy.
was watching Cap Chatfield, who has a podcast called The Directed Life, and he had a business owner on talking about AI, and some people in the church feel like it's maybe demonic or different things. And he put it in a way with this entrepreneur he was working with, which if you're God directed, then how you prompt it is through the word of God, almost like the Holy Spirit cometh to you into AI. I'll find the reel and send it to you. It was really interesting.
AI is just a resource,
Yes.
The way I look at it is it's like gold,
Yes.
God directed them to build the temple, have gold in the temple. And that was a good thing, obviously, for God's temple. And then Aaron made a calf out of gold to worship that calf. And that was a bad thing. So it's a resource. It can be used for good or bad. AI is 100% going to be used for good. And it's also one, I don't have a doubt it's going to be used for bad as well. It's going to be used for good and bad. It's a resource. So why not use it for good while we can, to the best of our ability?
I love that.
That's my opinion.
Well, why don't anything else you want to say about Real-Time Alert so we can make Seth happy?
Yeah,
here?
right?
I haven't met you, Seth, but looking forward to meeting you.
Yeah.
Anything else about Real-Time Alert that
another really cool,
know?
One more cool thing, it's even going to be on the free subscription. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Our cops are amazing. They are so busy. This is only 4 weeks worth of data. I started out with 4 months of data. You couldn't even see the map. This thing is showing.
What does each circle represent?
The little set of handcuffs there is an arrest that happened. That arrest right there happened on April 29th. I mean, I've just got literally the last 4 weeks of data on here. We've got the little man that's shaded right there. That's where a burglary has happened. And the little paintbrush that's on there, that's,
So
that's
I
where
could tell in my
vandalism has occurred.
neighborhood, in Stewart here, if I want to see,
that's on the free app. Yeah.
Is
it's
it
updated twice a day.
Wow.
So it's on the free app. So you're going to be able to see where arrests have occurred in the last 4 weeks. I think we're actually going to reduce it down to the last 2 weeks because even 4 weeks is too busy.
Yeah.
Our cops are they're magnificent. What they're doing to save us, put their lives on the line every day. Man, we need to be, every time I see a cop, I try to buy him lunch or something. I mean, we all need to be doing that. The media has turned them into the bad guys. They are not the bad guys. There's bad eggs in every everything. You can't, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's bad in people. They're people. The cops are people, but the majority of them are good, and they're trying to save our lives. We need to support them.
I totally agree. My niece's husband was going into the sheriff's office, and he passed everything, and he was about to get sworn in, but he decided, because he has a young family, they're pregnant and all this stuff, he decided to go into a different career because of that stress of going out there, and but he just took a different path. I don't know if he'll end up in law enforcement. He probably will, but he's a big guy too. He's like 6'3", really fit, and he just chose a different path because of the danger of it, honestly. And you never really think about that, where, I mean, I have friends that are police officers or retired now, but it's a real thing, the safety of the person. So,
when we were growing up, it was honorable to be a police officer, a fireman, or even a politician. I mean, to think about maybe one day I could be president of the United States.
Sure.
That was an honor. Those were honorable things.
Yeah.
And the daggum, so many people have turned those into negatives, and they've training our kids. They're trying to change history.
The worst thing I see I have a couple good friends that are retired police officers now. They wouldn't have their sons go into the field. Like, they discourage them too.
Yeah. I've got a friend that did the same thing.
Yeah. So I know that was usually, it's a legacy thing. My great grandfather, my dad's father, or my grandfather, was a police officer in New York City, and he did hit in Queens, and he'd walk a beat, check the locks. And he retired after did his 25 years, 20 years, I can't remember, to St. Pete Beach. Anyway.
He may have been working with Dan Bongino.
Yeah, he might have been. So, but anyway, back in the day. But, well, anything else, though, for real time at this point? I think they understand the app, and it gets on Apple
hopefully, prayerfully, within the next few days.
It's on Android, right?
We can launch on Android. We want to launch at the same time.
Okay.
So hopefully within the next few days, we're going to be in the Apple App Store. It's going to be Realtime Alert. We're still just in the sandbox right now, but we're ready. It's ready to go.
When that happens, where will you be 12 months from today? What would be the goal? I'm just kind of curious. From it goes live, it's on Apple, it's on Android. Where are you 1 year from today?
1 million subscribers minimum.
1 million subscribers. That's a big number. And how do you get there? Just through marketing? I mean, you got a lot to do between now and 12 months.
Yeah, marketing, social media. I mean, you guys are helping us out.
Thank you.
Big time.
I hope
I Live in Media is awesome. Rare Blue Moon that you've partnered with. I don't know how your partnership looks and all that, but it's amazing. Oh my gosh, you guys are out of this world. And we've interviewed folks all over the U.S. trying to find the cream of the crop, and it's right here.
I appreciate that.
You guys are amazing.
It's humbling. I'm glad we get to do this podcast for you too. I know you've repurposed some of them. We have shorts and different things to tell your story. Video tells a great story, and then getting it out on social media. It's awesome. So thank you. We appreciate you.
So that's how we're going to grow social media, and then also we really believe, I've got another guy that's on my advisory board that owns some different insurance companies. And he believes that when insurance companies realize what our safe evacuation is going to do, they're going to be offering discounts to events that have to have liability insurance.
Oh, they'll immediately do that.
We think insurance companies are actually going to be marketing for us. And if I get one University of Florida football game, I've got 90,000 subscribers right there at one event. I mean, this is going to be...
Oh, that's going to go crazy.
Yeah, so insurance companies, social media, podcast, that's how we're going to get the word out there.
Love it.
Yeah, so we're excited. I think 1 million is going to be short. We're going to be way beyond 1 million in a year.
That's exciting.
That's my feelings.
That's very exciting. So why don't we transition a little bit? So I know you have a new, you're working on a journaling app, right? Called At God's Table. And I think it's something you were inspired by Mickey Evans, who's a pastor at Dunklin Memorial Church.
Right.
So maybe bring it.
Brother Mickey Evans, he passed away in 2014.
Okay.
He was my mentor, though. Just an amazing man. He started this drug and alcohol regeneration center out in the swamps outside of Okeechobee. And I used to go to every Friday morning to prayer meeting with him, just amazed just at his humble leader. I mean, he had the charisma of, could have been a Billy Graham, but he was a humble leader hiding in the swamps, helping out drug addicts.
What year
and
was that
alcoholics.
when you, what year did you meet him? Just out of curiosity.
1997.
Wow.
Yep.
That's 30 years ago.
Yep. 30 years ago. Yep. And he just taught me how to journal, just how to have a relationship. Let me give you an example. I was out walking this morning. You know, I love the morning early.
What time were you up?
I was up between 3 and 4.
And you didn't go to bed till late.
Yeah, I didn't go to bed till late either. Last night I didn't get to bed about 3 hours, and that's bad. Seth, I'm sorry. Seth he's my CSO, and he's my health gauge. Always said, "Come on, Lee, you got to get better sleep than that."
Sure.
But sometimes when you're launching something, you sacrifice.
Yeah,
you know?
Tim Tebow talks about that. He doesn't want to be in heaven and not have given his all. So sometimes sleep does sacrifice.
I give it all. And so anyways, I was out there this morning looking into the heavens, and I love looking out when it's dark. I don't have a flashlight with me. I'm walking, our road is not really paved, but it's crushed.
Yeah.
You know, the pavement is pretty level. Yep. So I'm not really worried about tripping, but I'm out there walking, and this morning it was magnificent because, you know, the sun, you know, at 3, the sun was right there. I've got this app called Star Chart.
Yeah.
So
I have that
right
same
where
app.
the sun is. The sun was there. The moon was there on the opposite side of the earth. So the sky was black, and I could see the Milky Way, you know, and my favorite, you know, in the southern hemisphere now is the Scorpio, the scorpion. Sure. It looks like a scorpion in the sky, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, right there in the center of it is a extremely bright star, you know, it's, what is it called? Antares, I think it's called Antares. Yeah.
Yes.
Antares. And it's apparently like 700 times bigger than our sun. Think about that.
That's
it would take
insane.
up a big portion of our galaxy. And it's like 500 light years away. Light years. That's crazy.
Yes.
Light years away. I mean, our sun is just light minutes away. I think our sun's like 7 or 8 light minutes away. Mm-hmm. And that's 500 light years away. That's nuts.
That is nuts.
How big that thing is. And I love the scorpion right there, you know, because I was born at the end of October.
Okay.
So I'm Scorpio.
Okay.
You know, the zodiac stuff, you know, the enemy has a way of twisting all the things, you know, because people end up worshiping the created rather than the creator, than the creator, you know. And that's, I think, what happens sometimes with all the zodiac, with all that sort of stuff. But I love the Scorpio. And it's cool because that time you would think that Scorpio would be in the sky, you know, in October when I was born, the end of October. But it's actually on the opposite end. So they line up, you know, the Scorpios that time of year because here's the Earth, here's the sun, and there's Scorpios. So it's in line with it, with the alignment of the stars, you know. Yes. And the galaxy. So it means that's how it gets its timetable. But right now is the time of year that you can see it in the sky in the southern.
So every morning you walk for about an hour. It's also your exercise too, right?
Yeah. So I'm walking and I'm journaling.
Now, when you say journaling, you're talking, because I remember you sent me your reel maybe a month and a half ago, and I'm like, I loved it. It's where your form of praying, you're praying to God, is by talking, and you record it, right?
Conversationally. Yeah, that's what Brother Mick was real big on. He said, you know, some people talk about God, you know.
Yes.
Like a preacher. Like this morning, when I started my journal this morning, I was actually talking about God.
Okay.
And God finally corrected me about halfway through. He said, you sound like a preacher. You're talking about me, you know?
Can you give me an example of that? What's about God? How would you say you're talking about God?
I was like, you know, God, you created this amazing, 500 light years away, this, you know, Antares. And, you know, I'm a speck. You know, in the daytime, I feel more in control because you see the atmosphere. But at nighttime, when see in the heavens, you realize we're on a dirt ball floating in outer space, 67,000 miles an hour around the sun. It's spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. I'm not in control. God's in control, you know. So that was my journal this morning as I was starting to talk out.
Yeah.
And God was like, Lee, that's nice, but you're just talking about me. He said, and then you can talk about God.
Sure.
Or you can talk to God,
And so show me how you transition that.
Talking to God is like demons can talk to God, right?
Apparently, yes.
Satan can talk to God.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that he's going to go to heaven. He doesn't have a relationship. Okay, a relationship journaling is a talking with God.
Oh.
So you got about, you've got to, and then you got with.
I love that.
So relationally is with. That's talking with God. So that's the best way to put it. That's what journaling, the way Brother Mickey taught me, is communing and talking with God. And so it's a two-way conversation.
So when you're talking with God, can you give me an example of what that would sound like? Because I want to practice that. I was in my car this morning and I'm like, it's quiet. Normally I play audible books, different things, and it was just peaceful. And I started talking, I would say either to or with God, but I want to make sure I was doing it right.
Yeah.
So how do you talk with God?
So prime example this morning, I was talking with God. I was like, God, I'm kind of struggling with anger a little bit today. What God, Brother Mickey told me, look at yesterday. You examine, don't look backwards a year. Don't look back a month. Just look at yesterday. So and that's what this journaling app does. So how was your relationship to me? How was your relationship with yourself? And how was your relationship with others? And then what was your moral inventory? What was the good or bad that really summed up yesterday? And actually it was more bad that summed up yesterday for me morally than good. So I was like, God, it was anger. I was mad. I was mad at Apple because they've rejected me.
I got your
again.
prayer request, by the way. I did say a prayer.
Yeah, so they rejected us again. We're going to get through it, but it's just it's a pain in the butt, And so that was my conversational journal to God this morning. I was like, God, I'm mad, teach me how to be angry and not sin. And God was like, yes, Lee, that's what you have to do. Jesus, he turned the table, the table's
Sure.
upside down in the temple for those that were trying to make money off of, the intimate things. And so there is a way to do that, my son. I want to show you how to do that.
To be angry, but not
sin. Yep. Lee, there is a way to do that, my son. Let me show you how. Dive deep into my word.
Now, does he say that to you? Do you feel like he says what he just said?
I feel
to
like
you?
he says it to me. Yeah. Yeah. Dive deep into
Is
my
that
word.
like a prophetic word? Like you're getting a prophetic word from God, maybe? Or
it's the bread of life.
bread
Brother Mickey was real big about this. He was like, because when I first started Brother Mickey, I was like, Brother Mickey, because I didn't know the Bible that well, and I still don't. I mean, there's people that know the Bible so much more than me. I'm and Brother Mickey was like, I started this reading the Bible through in a year program, and I took that to Brother Mickey, and I was like, Brother Mickey, check this out. I'm reading the Bible through in a year, and Brother Mickey was like, Lee, that's good. That's good for head knowledge.
Yes.
That's a good thing to do, Lee. But that's not the bread. I was like, Brother Mickey, what do you mean it's not the bread? It's the word of God is the bread. It's the bread of life. And he said, no. He said, the bread of life is what do you need to help you through what you went through yesterday? What do you need to help you through? That's the bread, Brother Mickey would say, Lee, going to church is a good thing, but it's not the bread of life.
Huh.
When you go to church, maybe 1 out of 10 sermons is going to be something that speaks to you directly. That's the bread. And the rest of the time you're starving. The bread of life is what do you need in the word today to help you with what you're going through. That's the bread of life. And you don't call it the steak of life. Steak sticks to your ribs.
Yeah. Yes.
It's the bread of life. It's the manna. They had to go out. The Israelites, they had to go out and collect the manna every day. It wasn't. They didn't get it for a week. It would go by. They had to collect it every day.
Daily.
It's the bread of life. The sword of the Spirit is the word of God, and that's the bread. The Word became flesh and dwelt amongst us. That's Jesus. We have to eat his bread. You know, when I started in this, like the spiritual warfare, you know, when I was thinking about that, I was like, you know what? It's like, I want to grab the sword and be a warrior and wave it over my head, you know. And God corrected me one morning in my journal. I was like,
Sure.
I want to grab this sword and I'm mad at the enemy. I'm going to wave this sword around. And God said, man, you're wearing yourself out, Lee. What are you doing? I've already won the victory. He said, the sword of the Spirit is Jesus, you know. Every part of the armor is Jesus. You know, the helmet of salvation, his name, Jesus, means salvation. The breastplate of righteousness. There's none righteous, no, not one. All of us fall short. The belt of truth. He is the way, the truth, and the life. No one goes to the Father except through him. The sword of the Spirit. The Word became flesh and dwelt amongst us. He is the sword. Jesus is every part of the armor is Jesus. And then so the sword is the bread. So what God told me is, you know, you don't wave it around like this. He said, you need to be more like a circus clown. You need to swallow that sword. You need to eat it. So being a strong warrior is just eating the sword, you know, taking the bread of life. It's the bread of life, and it's daily.
So you said 3 or 4 helmet of
salvation.
Yep. And belt of truth and the sword of the Spirit.
Sword of the Spirit, breastplate of righteousness.
Breastplate.
You know? And think about those components. You know, the helmet of salvation, Jesus, Yeshua, his name means salvation, you know. That protects your mind. You know, God wants us to have the mind of Christ, you know.
And that's the helmet of the Spirit?
Helmet of salvation.
Salvation. So.
Think about where does a thought come from?
That's a good question.
I mean, thoughts can come from evil or they can come from good. I mean, thoughts can come from anywhere. They could be just it could be a visual, something that stimulates a thought.
Sure.
You know, but thoughts can come from anywhere, and we want to guard our mind. You know, God, he would like us to have the mind of Christ, to guard our mind. So that's the helmet. And the helmet can also cover your eyes, guard your eyes. You know, what are you looking at? Guard your mouth.
Yes.
You know, because, you know, when the disciples were going out, Jesus said, don't prepare yourself. I'll give you the words to speak.
Can I say something strange? So I was, you know, I've been on my spiritual awakening, born again, I call it. And, you know, I was given maybe a prophetic word, you know, just beware of the modern woman, right? And so I was just aware of, you see beautiful women and you look at that and you think, wow, she's beautiful. You know, are you coveting, maybe she's married, are you coveting another man's wife? But anyway, I was sensitive to it and I was aware of that thought, right? I mean, I don't think that was a godly thought. And what I do is I just turn away. I'm like, nope, not going to go there. And mentally and even physically, I don't look. I just, you know, I mean, I'm aware. I'm not, you know, I'm a man, you know, but I don't feed it like I used to, if that makes sense, right? Yeah, and so, and I'm conscious.
Desires.
It is actually.
Heart. Yeah.
I see it on social media too. Like I have, you know, my Facebook is up to thousands of followers and different things, and I see there's a lot of good, very physically beautiful women that are Christians that are doing pretty cool posts, you know, and then you have a lot that are dressed in bikinis all the time and all this. I just don't click on that. I don't observe it. I don't, if that makes sense, but I have to fight the urge. And I think to myself, that's so obviously the adversary now. I'm like, that's obvious, which I'm grateful that I catch it now, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Where I didn't before. So that's the helmet of salvation. Your thoughts can come. Yes.
Yep. And out of your heart then comes the wellspring, you know. So your heart, the breastplate of righteousness, you think about where the breastplate is, that's guarding your heart.
Sure.
Your organs, that's the breastplate of right. And there's none of us are righteous. None of us, you know, we all, if you dug into me, I'm a farmer. I just stopped dipping tobacco 5 days ago. I mean, I've been a Christian for a long, long time.
Yes.
And I've still struggled with tobacco. There's things in me that you don't want to see, but you don't look at me. It's Jesus. That's who you got to look at. It's we all have struggles. We all have things that we're going through, and but none righteous, no, not one. That's the breastplate of righteousness.
I
And then
love
think about the belt of truth, you know?
What is the belt of truth? How does that work?
He is the way, the truth, and the life. No one goes to the Father except through Jesus, right?
Yes.
And think about what the belt holds up is the loin protection in an armor, you know? And what is your loins? That's your reproductive organs, right?
Yes.
That's the fruit of the Spirit.
Oh.
That's what that's guarding. The belt of truth is guarding the fruit of the Spirit, you know, the fruitfulness.
Yes.
You know, your peace, joy, happiness, long suffering. That's the fruit of the Spirit. So that all those things are Jesus. Every aspect of it.
You know,
so that's what I do in the journal. You put on Jesus. I'm sorry.
No, keep going. I love it. No, keep going.
Yeah, you put on Jesus. That's the first step. You have to have a relationship with him, of course, is the very first step. And then you put on Jesus. And once you put on Jesus, then you realize that you can go to the table of the creator of the universe. Isn't that crazy to think about? We can talk to God, the creator. It's only through Jesus, by the Spirit. The Spirit helps me put on the armor of God because I couldn't stand before God. He would vaporize me because there's none. He's perfect. That you can't, there is in heaven, in his glory, there cannot be no imperfection. So how do we as an imperfect person, can we stand or sit at the table with him, sup with him? It's only by Jesus. The Holy Spirit helps us put on Jesus. That keeps us alive from being vaporized and being turned into dust before God, the creator of everything, you know?
Be more Christ-like. It's hard, you know, to live that life on a daily basis. It's challenging, but it always gives you something to look forward to, I guess, honestly. So so you got the belt of truth, the helmet of salvation, belt of truth. Then I wrote, I don't know if it's in any particular order, but the sword of the Spirit.
The sword of the Spirit is the word of God. Yeah.
And that's reading the Bible?
Well, that's the word of God.
The word of, yes, it is. Yep.
And the word became flesh and dwelt amongst us, right?
Yes.
Jesus is that creative authority. Jesus was, there's God the Father, then there's Jesus, God the Son, then there's the Holy Spirit, you know? And Jesus was at the right hand from the beginning, you know?
Yeah.
God created time. He created space. He created matter. He's outside of time, you know?
Yes.
Think about that. He created time. He's outside. He's not contained by time.
No.
You know? He's outside. You know, that's crazy. He's beginning and the end. He's all knowing.
Yes.
And he was in glory, and Jesus was at the right hand. And when God said, "Let there be," that was the authority that released Jesus to make the heavens and the earth, to create the earth, create everything you see, you know?
And the last one, we said breastplate of righteousness, which I think we already addressed, but what does that mean? Breastplate of righteousness.
That's protecting your heart. Guard your heart. You know, there's none righteous. When you think you've obtained the ability to stand before God, and you know that's pride. It's like, okay, you know, I can stand before God now, or I have the ability to pray to the Creator of the universe just because I'm me. You know, that's bullcrap. You know,
guard your heart from pride and ego.
From pride, you have no ability. Even Paul said, "In my best righteousness, I can be the best person I could possibly be, and my righteousness is filthy rags."
Yeah.
We can never be good enough. Never. There's nothing good in me. The only thing you see in me that's good is Jesus, you know? That's the position you need to take as you approach the creator of the universe and pray to him. I mean, isn't that crazy? We can sit at the table and sup with the creator of the universe. It's
amazing. You know, and I, as I'm on this spiritual journey and I said, born again, and I'm a puppy. Like, I'm just in the beginning. And really, I grew up in the church. I think I told you, I grew up Catholic, and went through, so we all do some hard times. And I thought the things I thought were, I wouldn't want to go through them again, but some really painful experiences brought me close to God. I had to rely on him. And then surrendering to God every day is new to me, you know, and I try to do it every morning, get up early. I think we both get up pretty early. You know, and so I was getting back to your bread of life and, what do you need in the word today, right? So the bread of life is you ask him not about next week or last year, but what do you need today?
Yeah.
And the bread of life is the word of God, is the Bible, or what do you need today? So what, I hope I'm getting this right because you're teaching me as we're learning here. What did you ask God for today? What was the bread of life today that you asked him for? I think you mentioned maybe some anger and.
Yeah. Yeah. So the bread of life today was anger. I was like, God, I'm upset with.
You know, I just
and then I was putting it back at his feet, you know. And
how do you do that?
And that's the trust. That's where the trust comes in. It's like, okay, you know what? This Realtime Alert, I fully believe this is going to be a worldwide platform that's going to save a lot of lives. But God doesn't need that. You know, he doesn't need Realtime Alert. He doesn't need Lee Jones for nothing.
No.
You know?
He didn't need Glenn Fetzner for nothing.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, each person, before they go into a building where there's a bad guy, you know, God could send an angel right there and say, turn around. You know, he doesn't need Realtime Alert. He doesn't need Lee Jones. He doesn't need none of this. You know?
But he's partnering with you.
He allows us to steward. He gives us something so we can steward it well. And that's all I want to do is I want to steward these things that God gives me. And I want to give them back to him. The blessing is really for me. He does it for us because we can give it back to him. We got something we can cast at his feet one day. You know, it's a crown that we can cast at his feet. He doesn't need it. We need it, you know.
And he knows we need it.
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend of mine. His name is Jeffrey. He's a Harvard-trained therapist. And I was like, you know, God put this in my heart to grow the company and do all these different things. You know, and he said, well, Glenn, you know, it's not just going to happen. You know, it's a partnership. I'm like, oh, it's a partnership. That's how I see your relationship with God. It's a partnership. And you just put that as you're being a steward. It's good stewardship. God could do it on his own, but he wants to partner with us, to steward with us, which is interesting to really think of it that way, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, and I think of the story of the talent.
Seeds out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Talents.
He wants us to take our 5 talent, turn them into 10, then 10 into 20, and then, you know, on and on.
And it's putting the seeds out there too, you know. I just went on the men's retreat this last weekend. It was so cool. There's a guy that, you know, gave the scriptures about, you know, the farmer going out sowing seeds, and some fell on the hard soil and the roots couldn't penetrate. So when the sun came up, it was burned up, and some of them, you know, fell in the good soil. Some of them fell in where the thorns were, you know, and the thorns are the cares of this world, you know, the riches, all those things are the thorns. So it was so funny because I was out there in the audience and I was like, man, I'm so glad I'm in the good soil. Thank you, Lord. I'm in the good soil. And the Lord showed me, man, you know, the good soil is only good because it's being plowed. It's being turned up. But God reminded me, he said, you know what happens as a farmer, you know what happens when you plow the ground? You're pulling up some seeds from down deep. Oh. Once a seed needs oxygen, it needs light, it needs water. And when you pull them weed seeds up, there's some seeds. You've got to keep your heart cultivated. It's a daily walk.
Sure.
You know, so don't get so proud that your heart's you're in good soil. You're going to be producing 100-fold or whatever. The only reason it's that way is because I'm out there as a farmer. I'm cultivating. I'm getting those weeds and thorns out.
So you're pulling the weeds.
Taking care of them, yeah.
You know, Jim Rohn, one of my favorite trainers, you see him right over here. That's an old CD there. He talks about the story of the sower and the reaper, and he said the sower was a wise man, very biblical. All of this. Do you ever listen to Jim Rohn? He's phenomenal. Great business mind, very, very successful. He's passed away now, but he's like a mentor from when I was in my early 20s. I listened to all of his books, all books on tape, all that stuff. I never got to see him in person, but he tells that story. I'll send you a clip of it, and I think you'll love it because it's identical to what you said. But he said some of the seed fell on fertile ground, but the birds would come and eat the seed, right? And He said, but the
That's the
sower,
hardened ground. Yep.
That's hardened ground.
They call it the wayside.
Okay.
But if you look at the original Hebrew of the wayside, is actually Greek. The original Greek of the wayside, that's a hardened path. Have you've seen a cow path, out in the cow pasture where they walk over and it becomes compacted.
Yes.
It's the same soil, but it's just compacted.
The seeds can't
and
penetrate.
so hard
Yes.
that the root can't penetrate. So the birds of the air come along and pick it up. Yep.
And he said, but the sower, he doesn't chase the birds away. He keeps on sowing, and then it falls on fertile ground, takes root, and he has a bountiful crop. But it's a great, great story. Well, Lee, we're probably at the end, kind of tail end here. I love talking to you, by the way. I do feel the Holy Spirit every time we talk. I'm excited.
Me too. Iron sharpens iron.
Absolutely. And then you and I are partnering on a new show that you came up with. And I know we're setting up a new LLC and different things, but called Bootstrap Billions.
Bootstrap Billion.
Bootstrap Billions. And you were able to trademark the name?
Yes. Yeah, we got the name. It was pretty phenomenal.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's a great name. And I think we were talking about maybe doing a form of like a Shark Tank type thing. We were kind of on a podcast studio, in our podcast studio.
You've got the great ideas.
Well, that I think
so
that's
cool.
a God download there.
Yeah.
And then, we were able to get you get an extra seat at the Altar Call conference with Ryan Blair and his team.
I'm so excited about that.
I am too. Yeah. So we'll be in Cabo for about 6 days. And that's a big deal for someone that's as busy as you, and I am. I was talking to Jesse Parker, who's our president of our company at My Living Media. And he's like, Glenn, what do you think of this, Ryan Blair, event, this Altar Call conference, mastermind? And I was like, well, he's going through the math on it. It's expensive to take. There's 5 executives going, myself, and then some people are bringing their wives and different things. But it's a big number. And I'm like, what do you think? I go, honestly, I don't want to go. I said, I'm so busy, but I know that God brought Ryan Blair he brought him into our life, and to mentor me and to mentor our team. And I think to mentor you, and so wait. He's so gracious. He's like, Glenn, I've been called to mentor you. It's not even my choice. This is what God's done. And, so we become friends, which is very flattering. Ryan's very, very successful and done many rounds of funding. He's taken a company public, and he sold one of his last companies for, I think, $780 million, something like that. And so, he is a godly man, and he's been called to scale companies like yours and mine, God-centered companies, up to 100 million, 500 million, and more rounds of funding and all that different stuff. So, when you called me, I was at Publix, and you said, Glenn, I want to partner with you on this. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And so a few other conversations we can't have on film here too. But, and then because of that, when I said, well, I'm business partners. I have a new business venture going on. Ryan's like, no problem. Bring them. And they're just so gracious. And you're going to be at the private mastermind those last 3 days I mentioned to you.
Just can't believe
and
that.
So, and the people you will meet, you're going to meet, and I'm humbled. It's people that worked for Meta. I think her name is Jen. She's amazing. And, she, from a branding point of view, she's fantastic. And now you can be on all these masterminds monthly with us for his private clients. And so I think it's an open door, and I'm just grateful we met. And the best thing I heard from Ryan Blair is he said, Glenn, when you go to these events, because you're going to learn great stuff. He goes, but you might not be here for this. You might be here. It's like a scavenger hunt. Think of it like God's got you on a scavenger hunt. I'm going to give you great information. And that might be why you're here. But you also might be here to meet somebody. And through Ryan Blair, I met, we call him Apostle Paul, who is works for Kurt Landry Ministries. He's his son-in-law. And Rabbi Kurt Landry, now we've been doing podcasts with him, doing some collaborations, and he prays over our organization, and he's helping us scale My Living Media up for the kingdom. And we always say, I borrow Cap Chatfield's line, that behind every screen, every glowing screen is a soul, and we're going to take media back from the kingdom, one soul at a time, through this device, through social media, through the new media. And I see how I call them God winks. It's a book. I don't know if you ever read the book God Winks. It's really a great book. It's kind of like a Norman Vincent Peale, The Power of Positive Thinking. And so when you see something that, is that a coincidence, or is that God telling you you're the right path? You meet somebody, I guess like a scavenger hunt, right? And so we met. I'm like, I feel like you need to go to Cabo with me. I think you're supposed to go. I don't know where that came from. That came from the Holy Spirit. Yeah. That's how I feel. And so you'll meet Rex out there. He's great. He's another business partner of mine, and he has done some amazing things too. And so anyhow, I think all of this is part of what God ordained, and I'm grateful. I'm learning a lot too, not only about business and AI, and you're inspiring me, but on the phone here this morning, man, you were going like, I'm preaching. I'm like, keep going. It was great stuff. So I'm just grateful to call you a friend, and now a business partner on this new Bootstrap Billionaire. So give us a little synopsis of your vision for our new podcast show, Bootstrap Billions.
Yeah, however you see fit. The idea originated as, because I'm a farmer. Like I said, all my other companies were LLCs and S corps, and so getting an idea to market, how do you do that? Yeah. The patent pendings, what kind of patent do you need? How long does that last? What is the patent process? Your prior art research, the freedom to operate, all those different components. And then starting the company, do you do it LLC, a C Corp, a S Corp?
Sure.
How do you do that? What kind of, steps do you need to take? If you do a C Corp and you're looking for investors, the SEC regulations, the 504 exemptions, the 1202, the different offerings that you can make, and how do you stay out of jail with the SEC?
Sure.
It's like, if you're doing a private offering, you can't make a public display. I'm looking for investors,
Yes.
you go to jail.
Yes.
So how do you do all those things? And so that was the idea behind it, was idea to market, and how does that look?
And I know, Realtime Alert has a real potential to be a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yes.
Venture.
Yep.
And I think, I agree with you. I think Seth agrees with you. Obviously,
Absolutely.
He wouldn't have jumped on board with you. So,
we're gonna, I'm thinking 2 to 3 years, we're going to have a $5 billion company. I'm not kidding. That's my goal. And
I believe
we're
you.
Blow this thing out of the water.
I love it. Well, we're here to help. I love that. And I'm looking forward to Bootstrap Billions, and you were able to grab that name. That's a great name, by the way.
That's so cool.
And I love it. I love it. Well, you know what? You shared your vision today. I'm looking behind it. It says our name of our show, Vision and Voice, right? But you shared your vision, and your voice, putting it on social media is awesome. And you got a great vision, so
Thank you. Yeah.
by one, your post with your song, which I thought was very awesome, by the way. Great song, and you're singing it and dancing to it. For a country guy, you got a little rhythm. More than I have, frankly. So, but it was really cool to see that. Well, thank you for sharing your vision today. And we gave you a little bit of a voice, and I'm hoping that as we talk more and more, and we start our new venture, the Bootstrap Billions.
Excited about the future.
Me too.
It's going to be opening up so many different doors. I mean, it's crazy. This trip to Cabo, I just cannot wait. I didn't even know Ryan Blair. I didn't know nothing about him.
And
I've watched every video out there.
What do you think? Pretty awesome, right?
Golly, it's right in my lane. That's what I love. It's like, even what makes me drive, personally,
Oh yeah, he's a great dude. He's a fit guy too. He's very physically fit, and but he's he's a sinner like we all are, that is now been called by God to help companies like you and myself and new ventures scale up for the kingdom. And you'll hear his story there, and that ends on Sunday, where they have like a church service basically, and you're going to meet some good people, and the people he's attracting. It's basically God's assembling an A team of entrepreneurs for this time. So it's pretty exciting.
It is,
and you're on that for sure. Well, Lee, thank you very much. And to be continued. Can't wait to tell our listeners about Bootstrap Billions. And
The
we'll do that on
combo, right?
Yep. Yep. I can't wait. Thank you for being on. And anything at the end here you'd want to tell the listeners, anything we should know, how to get the app, maybe your website, anything like that?
Yeah, just go to www.real-timealert.com. All one word. Don't forget the dash in the middle, because there's another
I do that.
real time out there that's like some sort of medical device or whatever. It's real-timealert.com. So,
well, thank you for today. I appreciate it.
awesome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
What a blessing.